Pollyanna, Chapter 5. Mysterious Lovers. At home she told Nancy all about the wonderful things hidden in the carved box. She told her how angry he seemed to be, and then how he wanted her to visit him more often because she reminded him of somebody else. "Who was it? Who do you remind him of?" Nancy interrupted. "I don't know." "A mystery? Oh, Miss Pollyanna, it's just like in a book. So, tell me everything. John Pendleton wasn't that nice to you until he was told you were Miss Harrington's niece." "Yes, I told him about this last time, and today he sent for me and wants me to visit him more often." I know, Nancy said triumphantly. She didn't want him to think that jelly was from her. You reminded him of someone. Now listen, Mr. Pendleton was Miss Harrington's lover. But Nancy, it couldn't be true. She doesn't like him. Of course, that's the whole point. They had an argument over something, and they couldn't make up after that. Old Tom told me Miss Harrington wasn't always the way she is, but she became like that after a quarrel with her lover. But he didn't want to tell me who was it. Now I know. But Nancy, if they loved each other once, they have to make up, Pollyanna suggested. Miss Pollyanna, you do not know much about lovers. You're not old enough. Pollyanna said nothing, but she went to her room, thinking how glad they would be to be lovers again. Ever since that day, she began spending lots of time at Mr. Pendleton's house. He showed her many astonishing things, and once he showed her prisms, small pieces of glass put on strings in the sunlight that let out many colors and created a rainbow. Pollyanna was delighted to see the dancing rainbow, as she called it. "Oh, how I wish I had lots of these things to show to everyone I know. It would be so much easier to play the game if you could have a rainbow dancing for you. They all would be so glad. Maybe I could make my aunt play the game." As Mr. Pendleton hadn't heard of the game before, Pollyanna told him about it this time, and he gladly allowed her to take some of the prisms to give away to other people in town. "You are like a prism yourself, Pollyanna," he said. Soon the summer was over, and Pollyanna had to go to school. She was willing to learn, and she quickly discovered that attending classes was also some kind of living, not just a duty. Her free time, though, was somewhat shorter, and during one of her visits to Mr. Pendleton's, he asked her, "I don't see you that often now. Maybe you could live with me. You could help me play the game." "But you're not serious. I'm Aunt Polly's," Pollyanna laughed, taking his words for a joke. "If she let you, would you stay with me?" he asked seriously. "But she is so good to me." Pollyanna wasn't sure what to say. "Pollyanna, I used to love somebody years ago, and I hoped to bring her to my home, but it didn't work out that way for me. It just didn't. Since then, this place has never become a home. It takes a woman's hand and heart or a child's presence to make a home, Pollyanna, and I have not had either. Would you like to join me in this house and make this place a home?" "So, Mr. Pendleton, you long for a woman's hand and heart?" Pollyanna seemed to be excited. "Well, yes." "Oh, I'm so glad! Now you can take us both and everything will be lovely." "Both?" "Yes, me and Aunt Polly. Well, she isn't one over yet, but—" "Aunt Polly? Here?" Mr. Pendleton cried in horror. "What are you talking about?" he asked her after he had calmed down. "I thought you wanted Aunt Polly's hand and heart and me as a child." Their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of Dr. Chilton, but before the girl left, Mr. Pendleton managed to ask her not to mention anything they had been talking about to anyone. The next day, Dr. Chilton came to Miss Harrington's house, looking for Pollyanna, as John Pendleton wanted to talk to her. "I know why he wants to see me," she said joyously. "I wasn't meant to tell anyone, but you're his doctor. I can tell you. It's about him and my Aunt Polly. Nancy and I figured out they were lovers, but my aunt doesn't know anything yet, and I guess this is why he wants to see me." "Oh, I'm sure he wants to talk to you," Dr. Chilton said with a strange smile. As soon as Pollyanna arrived, John Pendleton immediately asked her a question without even greeting her first. "What did you mean, my child, about me taking you both, you and Aunt Polly?" "Well, you were lovers, and you said you wanted to have woman's heart, and—" "Polly Harrington and I? Lovers?" Pollyanna opened her eyes widely at the obvious surprise in Pendleton's voice. "So you and Aunt Polly—" "Never!" "And you don't want her to come to live with you?" "No, and I assume that if your aunt isn't moving in with me, you aren't coming either." "I can't. I'm Aunt Polly's," she answered quietly. "Pollyanna, before you became Aunt Polly's, you were your mother's, and I loved your mother very much. But she loved your father. This is what happened. I don't love anyone like her anymore. Why can't you stay with me?" "But there's Aunt Polly." "How can I be glad about anything without having you beside me? I beg you to ask her whether she would allow you to live with me." "I will," Pollyanna sighed. "I hope you didn't mention anything about this to anyone." "Oh, no, no one but Dr. Chilton." "Not Dr. Chilton, not him. What did he say?" "Oh, nothing special. I remember he said he knew why you wanted to see me," Pollyanna answered, watching in surprise because Mr. Pendleton gave a little laugh. When Pollyanna was back in her little room, she spent a long time thinking how to refuse Mr. Pendleton. She liked him a lot, but she loved her aunt and felt at home there, even though her aunt was a bit too dutiful sometimes. Suddenly she realized something and jumped to her feet and ran towards his house. When he saw her, he asked, "So, Pollyanna, are you going to live with me and help me play the game?" "No, but I have an idea. What sort of thing you could do to make you glad?" "Did your aunt forbid you to live with me?" "I didn't ask her," the girl replied miserably. "Pollyanna!" "I didn't have to. I know now that she needs me. She cares for me. But if you want to have a home, you need a child's presence. You said so yourself. You can take Jimmy Bean then. He's looking for a home, and he can work, and he's really nice." "Who are you talking about? You don't mean I'd take some strange boy?" "Actually, I thought you could." "Pollyanna, I suspect you're right," he surrendered. "A nice little boy would be better than no one. Would you tell me something more about him?" "It's so great. I'm sure you will like him, and he wants to have a real home." And so Pollyanna told him Jimmy's story.